And Nazare is working too. Did you hear that?
Yes, I think all
Yeah,
of Europe is
yeah,
red light right now with a purple blob. There's waves breaking everywhere, and
yeah.
it's flat in California.
Aloha, everybody. This is Mark Sorichu, your host for the Christian Surfers Talk Story podcast, where we talk about reaching every surfer and every surfing community with the good news of Jesus. Please join us for conversations from pro surfers to pastors and everyone in between who are aiming to make a positive impact in their lineups and leave the water a better place for the kingdom. Please check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes, and we'll talk to you soon.
Here we go. All right. Aloha, everyone. It's Mark Sorichu from the Christian Surfers Talk Story podcast, hanging out here in California, and we're going to continue to talk to some of our favorite missionaries from all around the world, and we've got one on the other end of the line right now. Audrey, I don't know what side of the screen you're on for me or for you, but you're on my left. Perfect. You're right. And I'm going to say bonsoir. I hope that's right. I should know my French better since I'm living in Europe a little bit now with Lydia. But you're normally in Hossegor, France, but now
Yes.
you're in the United States. So tell me what you're doing over here.
Yes, so I'm in North Carolina in the mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains, and I am visiting my family-in-law because my husband is American. So we're taking
Yes.
some time off. When we got married, Paul said that he wanted to take some time off the field every 7 years. So this is our 3 months break, 7 years later.
Beautiful. You need your time off, Audrey. You got to take your
Yeah.
Sabbath. And do you guys do it in the same place every time, the Appalachian Mountains, or do you move it around the world?
So this is our first long break, but we do come to the mountains on a regular basis. Every 18 months, we try every 18 months.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And does it feel like France, or does it actually feel like a totally different country? Does it feel like the US?
Well, it's a little town in the mountains, so we're very far from big cities. It's called Caches, near Highlands, and there are only big wooden houses in the forest, no big skyscrapers or anything. So I guess it looks like America in the mountains, but not like America in the big cities.
That's right. America is so big, such as the rest of the world. And we're glad and we're blessed to have you and Pal back in the US. And when are you guys going back to France?
Beginning of December.
Okay. All right. So you guys have just another month. And I know we've been talking about this podcast for a while now. We've been talking for a few weeks, trying to get it locked in. And obviously, you've been spending a lot of time with family and Pal's family here. So thank you so much, Juan. Merci beaucoup for making time for the Christian Surfers podcast, catching up while you're on your break or holiday, supposedly. We're making you work. But you have such a great story, and we just want people all around the world to get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit how it was in France before you guys came to the US. How has COVID and the changing times of the world affected you guys in France and Christian surfers, the movement in the country?
So in the spring, everything was locked down. The country was in lockdown. So with Christian Surfers, we tried to network a lot through Zoom, as most of us in the world. So it it wasn't bad actually. It was a time to stop and to connect with one another. I really enjoyed it. For Christian Surfers, it was really good. We started a daily reading plan during lockdown in March and April. And every day we read the same passages and we exchanged notes and ideas. And we spoke on a regular basis. So it was quite good in a sense. And in the summer, life started again, life outside your house. And we were able to meet. And that was a nice time of rejoicing to be able to see everybody again. Yeah, so the summer was fine. July and August and beginning of September, it was fine. Hossegor is very, very busy in the summer. Thousands and thousands of tourists came, mainly French people.
Right.
as many people couldn't travel outside France. But lots of French people and lots of great connections.
That's awesome, Audrey. And you and I were just catching up before we hit record on this podcast, and you mentioned a few updates with Europe and France in particular that are happening today. Can you tell us what's happening over there now?
Yeah, last night the president spoke and he said that we are back in lockdown starting today. 1 month of lockdown so far. Schools are still open and high schools are still open, but people are not allowed to be outside apart from going to work or going to school.
Wow. So back to basically zero surfing.
Yeah, actually, I was wondering because I haven't checked the news very well since we're in the States. And I was wondering, are they going to close the beaches? But I guess yes. But the sad thing is that today and tomorrow, Bellara, the huge wave, Bellara, that is between Saint-Jean-de-Luz and Hendaye, is working. And it hasn't been, I heard it hasn't been that big since 2014. And it's huge. And Nazaré is working too. Did you hear that?
Yes, I think all of Europe is red light right now with a purple blob. There's waves breaking everywhere. And it's flat in California, at least this week. So I don't know how the waves are in the Appalachian Mountains, but Europe has all the waves right now. which is kind of unfortunate and serendipitous with so many of the countries going backwards with the pandemic. And so we definitely need to be praying for France because obviously, not many groups are able to meet right now per, the state regulations and laws and guidelines and the curfews. So we need to be praying for France, and we need to be praying for the rest of Europe as well.
Yeah, and the local chapter in southwest France, so we call that Sud-Land Pays Basque, Southland and Basque Country. The Christian Surfers local chapter met just a week ago, and there were a lot of people, so I'm so glad they were able to meet before lockdown.
Yes. Did they know how it was going to change a week later? That's a blessing.
They didn't know. Nobody knew.
We're all regulated back to Zoom church, and a great reason for everyone to be watching this podcast with you as well, since we're doing it on Zoom. And I forgot to mention earlier, if you want to learn more about Audrey and Christian Surfers France or anybody or any of the countries around the world, make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube link. I don't know which direction that is, either Audrey, but we're happy to be talking with you. And I wanted to ask you mentioned your husband is American. And so for those of us who have hung out and had the blessing to meet him at the Christian Surfers conferences, how did you meet Pao in the past? And how'd you come across such an awesome American husband?
He came to France 10 years ago as a missionary in the local church and as a teacher in the English language school that some Australian missionaries had. And I was working in the English language school, and I was part of the same little Baptist church there. So we met maybe a couple of days after he first arrived, and we started working together a couple of days later as well, and had the same group of friends, and that's how we met.
That's right. Was that through the YWAM that was in Biarritz as well?
No, so YWAM started the YWAM base at the same time, but it was with Christophe and Melissa Parenti, who are from Australia and who spent 8 years in the southwest of France. And they believed in business as mission and started different businesses, surf hostels and a language school.
Yes, the Parentis are legends. And so tell me a little bit about how you got involved with Christian Surfer, because I know they are part of that story. Obviously, they're the pioneers of the Christian Surfers movement in France. But how did you get involved with us? And if I remember correctly, you actually didn't grow up a Christian. You didn't grow up a Jesus follower. And it was through this journey where you met through Christian Surfers, you met Jesus.
Yeah. So I grew up in a non-Christian family, France is a big Catholic by tradition country, but lots of people would say they're Christian, but just because it means that they're not anything else, basically. Anyway. I grew up very far from the ocean, and I had a friend at school who used to come with surfing magazines to school. Because he came from the southwest of France. He came from Seignos, just near Hossegor, and he got me into surfing just by showing me his magazines. And the waves were beautiful, and I fell in love with the waves. And the most beautiful waves in his magazines were all from Australia. So I dreamed about going to Australia, and when I was 17 years old, I spent a year in Sydney as an exchange student in an Australian family, and the father in the family was the pastor of the local Baptist church.
Super
it was
cool.
In Maroubra. So Maroubra is a big surfing spot, and there was a very big and wonderful Christian Surfers chapter in the local church there.
That's right, the Bra Boys.
Exactly. The Bra Boys come from Maroubra. So I met the Christian Surfers guys over there, became very close friends with them. And I met Jesus through them and the Christian Surfers local chapter, and through my Australian mom and dad, who were the pastors of the local church.
That's
and
so
through
cool.
my other friends from church there. But yeah, all these guys, yeah.
That's so cool. So God kind of plucked you. Was it Paris that you were in?
Yes.
Yeah, he plucked you out of the, far away from the ocean and in the middle of the country, and brought you to the coast. And you're one of our best missionaries, and such a perfect figurehead to lead France. And when you came back from Australia to France, is that when you got involved? And how long have you been leading Christian Surfers in France?
So I've been involved with Christian Surfers France for 10 years. But for a few years, we didn't do much in the name of Christian Surfers. And it's at that time that Christophe Parenti and Melissa went back to live in Australia. And when they left, I became the CS contact for France. But at that time, we were not doing anything in the name of Christian Surfers, and that lasted a couple of years. Shall I keep telling the story?
Go for it, Audrey.
Okay.
We got time.
Okay, so maybe a couple of years before Christophe and Melissa left, we were sitting together at a European conference, at the CS Europe conference in Hossegor. And in my heart, I received that one day I would have bigger role in Christian Surfers France. And I cried a lot. I spent some time talking with Christophe. But I knew it wasn't going to be then, and I didn't know what it meant exactly. So a couple of years later, Christophe left. I became the contact, but nothing was happening. I was just the contact person. And I had also received that I wouldn't be able to step up before I was married. So back then I was still single, and it was really clear to me that I couldn't move unless I was married. Not long later, Paul and I started dating, and then we got married. And a guy came to visit through YWAM Biarritz, and he said, Audrey, I've been visiting churches along the coast, and there are other Christians who surf in France. You guys need to get connected. We knew that there were other Christians who surfed outside this little southwest corner of France, but we didn't know them. We had no contact whatsoever with any other Christians who were surfers in the country. So to me, then it was like the yes from God saying, okay, now is the time. You guys need need to act. So 2 months later, we hit the road with Powell and a couple of friends from Christian Surfers, and we've been traveling the country ever since. And I believe that was 2016. I was pregnant with my first child, and we started touring the country. And every time we had the opportunity, we started touring the country. We contacted churches. We contacted every Christian we knew in every little corner of the country, saying, "Hey, we're looking for Christian surfers. Do you know any Christians who surf?" And then, yeah, the ball started rolling.
Yes. Well, anyone that's met you and Pal, you guys both married up. We absolutely love both you guys, and you guys are such a powerhouse team together. How's Pal doing, and how many kids do you guys have now?
We have 2. We have a little girl and a little boy.
Oh, that's great. And are they bilingual? Are you speaking to them both in French and in English?
Yes.
Very cool.
We speak English at home.
Okay.
Because we live in France and I'm French, we're surrounded by the French language a lot. So we chose to speak English at home so that their English would be very good, and they speak French when they're with French people.
Beautiful. That's great. It's such a valuable asset and skill set. And are they already surfing? Have you gotten them in the water?
Yeah, Anya started when she was 5 months. She was born January 31st. In June, she was in the water. Yeah,
that's perfect.
She has a bodyboard. She has a little foam surfboard, and she's in the water all the time. And so is he. He loves the water. He doesn't have a board yet, but yeah, he likes the water. He runs. Every time we put his feet at the beach, he just runs straight to the water with his clothes on and his shoes on. He doesn't care. He loves the water.
Well, we'll make sure to get him aboard when he's ready. And what a beautiful place to learn how to surf in the beautiful beaches of France. And so maybe Luana's a little bit behind, but I know she's looking forward to getting over there to surfing with Auntie Audrey and Uncle Pal soon. Can you tell me a little bit about how Christian Surfers works with Surf Church in Hossegor, and how you came to meet Reggie and
Rich.
And Rich, yes, and brain fart there with Rich, the Ginger Vica, and their amazing kids.
So Christophe and Melissa Parenti, them again, they are huge pioneers. They love pioneering things, and they were part of the Baptist church in Biarritz, but they loved traveling to Hossegor, which is 40 minutes drive north of Biarritz. And they loved driving up there because it reminded them of Australia, and they loved surfing the waves of Hossegor. And they realized that there were no evangelical churches in a perimeter of maybe an hour to 2 hours around Hossegor. So they decided to start a little church that they called Surf Church, and that was 10 years ago. Yeah, I think that was about 10 years ago. The first year, Surf Church met only 4 or 5 months in the summer. And the following year, still, it was that little group of people from Biarritz traveling to Hossegor, meeting a few locals there, having some fellowship and Bible reading and worship on Sunday evening. And still it was only, I think, a few months a year. And and in the winter, they met in a house rather than in a bigger building. That went on for a few years, and I was part of the team starting the second summer. I wasn't there on the first summer, but the second summer, Christophe invited all the young people from the Biarritz Baptist local church to drive up to Hossegor on Sunday night. So I was part of the people traveling every Sunday night. And we did that for a few years, I would say 3-4 years. And after that, Christophe and Melissa decided to move back to Australia and looked for somebody to take over this little church, this little group of people that they had in Hossegor. And that's when Rich and Reggie come in the picture. They had Hossegor on their mind and on their hearts for a long time because they were doing missionary trips to Hossegor for years and years and years and years. Maybe 20 years before that, they started going to Hossegor. So they loved Hossegor, and they had on their hearts that it was time for them to move and maybe do something in Hossegor. So I think Phil Williams, the European Director for Christian Surfers, introduced them to Rich and Reggie and Christophe and Melissa, and he put them together and they said, cool, we want somebody to take over the church and you are looking for a church or something to do, so let's do that.
I love that.
So Rich and Reggie became our pastors. So Rich and Reggie visited and they liked it and they said, okay, we'll go. It was only a little group of people. And Christophe said, okay, Rich and Reggie, I'm giving you my people. And there was Simon, who was the worship leader for Surf Church for many, many years, and that you all met at the international conference in Hossegor. There was Powell, there was me, and there were a few other people. And we're still around.
Yes, you guys are. I love that story, Audrey. It's so awesome. Phil Williams, the legendary connector of Europe and all around the world. Of course, he had a part to play in that. And it is such a fantastic church, what you guys do there. And there's such a perfect synergy between Christian Surfers France and Surf Church in Hossegor. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you listening and watching this podcast, if you guys are in town in France in Hossegor, hopefully after COVID is all behind us, make sure you stop in and visit Reggie and Rich Ellington and Audrey and Pal and the whole crew there in France. And so it's such a cool thing that you guys have going on, Audrey. I've been able to visit a few times, particularly 2 years ago, I think, when you guys hosted us for the Christian Surfers International Conference in France. And amazing job again. Hopefully you're recovering from all the work at that conference. And we look forward to hosting you here in California, United States, once COVID goes away and we're allowed to have people fly into the country a little bit easier. So I know we're gonna wrap up here shortly on time, but before we go into the CS lightning bolt round of questions for you, I did wanna ask you, how can we be praying for you and the family and Christian Surfers France? I know you mentioned to me earlier, there was another terrorist attack in France today, which is very tragic news. Europe's obviously, the cases are spiking and things are going backwards with restrictions in the pandemic. And there's a lot of people that have influenced you in your life and gotten you to where you are now. But how could we be praying for you, the family, and the movement?
Yes, so for us personally, you could pray for rest.
Yes.
Because with 2 children under 4 years old, we have not had a lot of sleep over the last 3.5 years. So rest is always something we can pray for. And
Sleep is good.
For the country, we could pray for this new period of lockdown starting tonight. What I have on my heart is during the last lockdown, there was a lot of violence in France within the families. The violence went up a lot between family members. So we could pray for them. We could pray that people will find a way to be able to live with their husband and wife and kids in love.
Yes.
That's what's on my heart. Yeah. for Christian surfers, we can pray that now there's a nice network around the country of Christians who surf, and most of them are part of Christian surfers. We can pray that they encourage in their testimony at their local beach, and that they run with the vision. That's always something I have on my heart too, that all these people who are passionate surfers and passionate Christians would grab the vision and run with it.
Amen.
The vision of Christian surfers. Yeah.
I love it, Audrey. Yep. Catch them
every
like
surfer
wildfire.
And every surf community would have the opportunity to know and follow Jesus. Yeah.
There you
Own
go.
that.
The perfect prayer request, as always, Audrey. Thank you for sharing your needs, and please, I hope you sleep the rest of your time in the United States before you go back to France. And we definitely need to be praying for God to come back into the households, into all the families, and for the country of France. I did want to ask you one more thing. I know Christian Surfers United States recently had its East Coast camp out. Did you and Pal have a chance to go? Was that close to you guys, or was that far?
Yeah, it was far. We didn't go. So, but not long before, we met Casey. We spent 2 days with Casey in the Outer Banks, not where he lives, but a few hours south, still in the Outer Banks. We didn't go. We really wanted to go. The only reason why we didn't go is that the kids don't do really well in the car, and it's quite a drive. Even if it's in the same state, America is huge. The United States is huge. So just to drive from one part of the state to the other part is a real adventure for us with the children.
For sure. Yeah, whenever I'm trying to explain the United States to all my European friends, I always tell them that it's so big, like each state it's almost its own country. And, for better or for worse, that's one reason why Americans don't travel too much outside. A very few percent. I think only 30% of Americans have their passport, but, hopefully more of them do get their passport and travel to Europe and be able to see the amazing work that God is doing through you guys there. So keep it up, Audrey. I'm going to hopefully let you get back to sleep soon. Let's bust through the lightning round and get you back to your family. And thank you again so much for making time to catch up with us. So first question for you on the lightning round, really easy one. What's your funniest story about the boss, AKA Phil Williams?
So I always call Phil my boss. And
you do.
I've been calling him my boss for many, many years now. And not long ago, he actually told me that he would prefer if I called him my friend. So I said, you are my friend, but you're also my boss. And a funny thing is that I'm so used to calling him boss that every time I want to write an email to him, I just put my fingers on the keyboard and the thing writes, "Hi, boss." I don't even have to write the letter H. I don't have to write anything. As soon as I just put his email address in my Gmail thing, it says, "Hi, boss." It just shows that I call him boss all the time. Yeah, I call him boss because he's my boss and he's wonderful. I really love him.
Yeah, we love Phil, and he is a good boss. And also
he's
a
wonderful boss. He's great. He's wonderful to me and wonderful to all the European leaders.
Yeah. And speaking of the boss, have you ever surfed with the boss, and does he let you drop in on him?
Yeah, I've surfed with him. Does he let me drop in on him? I don't recall that.
Well, that is the second question of the Christian Surfers Lightning Round. What is the worst drop-in you've ever experienced in Christian Surfers?
It's Powell, my husband.
That's a great answer.
Usually then I don't speak to him for a couple of hours because I'm really mad. But eventually we live in the same house. So I do have to overcome my madness.
Yeah, I think you're pretty good at forgiveness, Audrey, from what I know about you. So keep up the great work and keep dropping. You could just return the favor, turn the other cheek, and just drop in on him. So Out of bodyboard, hand plane, shortboard, longboard, fish, sup, or foil, what's your favorite choice of pick for the water?
Shortboard.
Shortboard, awesome. Beaches,
Not too short.
Not too short. What size are you riding?
6'8".
6'8".
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's a good size board. Beaches, reef points, or beaches, reefs, or point breaks? I got them mixed up.
Beach.
Beach, of course. France. Hossegor. Can't go wrong. Best beach breaks in the world. Goofy foot or regular foot?
Regular.
Regular. Okay. Barrels, turns, or airs? Which one do you prefer?
Yes. So I'm going to say right or left. None of the above.
None of the above. Or all of the above. That's awesome, Audrey. And last question for you. And I got this from listening to the WSL podcast with Dave Prodan. And he's always asking the surfers this. And there's such interesting answers, you know. And for me, I've always wanted to ask people who follow Jesus the same question. And his question is, finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by...
Right. Having a short cappuccino with cocoa powder at the local coffee shop by
Amen.
myself. By myself.
By yourself and with Jesus. Yes.
Yeah.
Coffee and Jesus.
So I actually do that every morning here. I take my French Surfer's Bible and I sit at the local coffee shop every morning and I'm reading Acts and I'm by myself with my little cappuccino and I love it.
Awesome, Audrey. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your life. Thank you again for all the amazing work that you do in France and all of Europe. We're so blessed to have you on the Family on Mission and the Tribe of Christian Surfers. Give Pal and your kids and the family a big hug for us. And God bless you, and we'll see you soon. À tout à l'heure.
Same. À tout à l'heure. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, and I love you all, Christian Surfers family.
Okay. Aloha, everyone. God bless you. And don't forget to subscribe and follow Audrey and Christian Surfers France on social media. You.